Warpugs. So, we're getting back to the When Daybreak series, and this one was only released a few days ago. He's been continuing the series, Mr. Illustrated has, and I'm telling you, this series has delivered so much. It is one of my favorite series that I've been a part of here, and I can tell you guys, it's delivered some. Not only has it delivered some great art, it's been a great story so far. If you look behind me on the wall there, that is actually from the When Daybreak series, and that is the Bobbies fighting off the flesh, and I can tell you, like, there's been some great art that he has put out, but the story is also amazing. Now, him and Dr. Cimarron work on this now, and I can tell you that this particular series, I wait for every single time that this thing comes out. Now, the last time we saw 106, he was in kind of a strange relationship. We're gonna hopefully see a little bit more of that. Mainly 106's food is going away, which is bad, but there are workarounds to this. Also, I can't remember exactly who he's in this relationship with, but I'm pretty sure it'll all come flooding back to me once we start getting into it. Now, this is on the library, and this is going, this might be where the last few humans are actually alive. This might be part of where they are, because I can't think of anything more safer from the sun than the home place of the Serpent's Hand. So let's just jump right in here. All the links are going to be in the description down below. And hit the subscribe button, leave a like, and a comment. Let's go.
The room smelled of old books and judgment.
Judgment,
Walls
lovely.
were lined with books, scrolls, and other forms of media that were hardly recognizable at a glance.
Okay.
At the center of the room, at an oval circulation desk that appeared to grow out of the floor, sat Agnes Wainbridge. She was a bespectacled librarian out of Universe 443 who was reading 67 post-mortem works of William Shakespeare as the mass of flesh rolled through the portal and into the library. The flesh approached the woman gingerly. It crept ever closer to the desk that Agnes called her home and began to intone through many mouths.
What is this place?
Agnes didn't look up. She just adjusted her glasses.
This is a library.
The mass of flesh rolled closer to Agnes.
You will join us.
Agnes sighed, pulled out a bookmark from her desk in front of her, and placed it in the book. She placed it on the desk and leaned forward, finally looking the monster in the eyes.
Keep your voice down. This is a library.
You will join us.
The monster said, a bit quieter this time.
Thank you for respecting the library, you prick.
Agnes rolled her eyes.
If you want access to the library, you need a library card. Otherwise, you should leave. Preferably the way you came in.
The flesh reached a slender tentacle of flesh out to grab Agnes, but it encountered an energy field. Agnes waved her hand towards the impact point.
And keep it down.
For a few moments, Agnes looked at the mass of flesh, and it looked at her. The two beings were at a clear impasse, but Agnes began to pull some documents out of a folder on her desk.
This is an application for a library card. Either fill it out or leave.
The monster seemed confused, but took the paperwork from the desk. It then began to move away from the librarian, slowly. Then, as if it suddenly realized the absurdity of the situation, it turned around and slammed itself into the energy field.
I assure you, sir.
Agnes began, her orange eyes burning with silent confidence.
I have worked here for 200 years. I have seen many monsters come and go, and you are not the first entity to overestimate your power here. Please calm down and fill out the paperwork.
There you go.
The monster didn't respond, simply crashing again and again into the energy field. Agnes groaned and pulled out a rotary phone and began to dial. The monster continued to slam its mass into the energy field surrounding the librarian's desk. After a few moments, she put the phone to her ear and said,
Hey, we have a breach from Universe 001. It's the one with the sun thing, yeah. All right, I'll let him know. Thank you. Sir,
Agnes said as the monster screamed and attacked.
I'm going to need you to calm down. Management will be by shortly to remove you from the premises.
And then Agnes hung up the phone, picked up her book, and reopened it to the page she'd just been reading.
Yeah. This is awesome. I'm just saying. Oh, he's got his new sponsor.
Big news, everyone. There is an amazing SCP-173 figurine up for grabs. James from Fallen Foundry has created it. The SCP Wiki have given it the green light, and the campaign is running until the 16th of November. Time is running out, so if you would like a figurine of the glorious Peanut to stand proud on your shelf, then you need to follow my link below, support the campaign, and pre-order your SCP-173 figurine today.
I don't want to support Peanut. He tortures me, man.
SCP-106 and his keeper, the Cloaked Lady, Kira North, and her protector, a policeman from Undublin, walked slowly as a group through the shimmering portal to the Great Library. Kira, for her part, finally let the stress of the events on the submarine rush in and impact her psyche. They just destroyed the world. She was sure of it, and now here she was in some dimly lit cloister filled with books. She half collapsed on the Bobby to her side and tried to come to terms with moving forward. The Bobby, for his part, held her up and did his best to support her. If he had any internal dialogue, it was impossible to tell through the bandages, but for
Did I miss a few? I'm thinking I might have missed a few.
sure he seemed to still be fulfilling his task of protecting his ward. Kira, leaning into her guardian, finally spoke.
What just happened?
The Cloaked Lady shook her head.
We have to check in with the librarians first.
SCP-106's reaction to that was certainly a negative one, even if he kept quiet. The Cloaked Lady nodded to him.
I know. I'll vouch for you. Just don't eat anyone while you're here.
The old man noted the lack of corruption in his wake, the floor seeming to heal the moment his foot left it. The four of them stepped out from behind the bookshelves into the open library, and immediately the librarian, a young woman with snakes for hair, looked up from her desk. This one was rectangular and unremarkable. The two ladies shared a brief knowing smile, like old friends meeting after too much time had passed. But her burning orange eyes then narrowed on SCP-106. Her hair began to softly hiss, and she reached for a rotary phone. Then the Cloaked Lady stepped between the two.
We're expected. The Great One summoned me.
The librarian kept her eyes to a squint but nodded and put down the phone. Kira stood there confused and raised an eyebrow. To some extent, the wild and hard-to-explain nature of the last few minutes' events made her trauma slightly easier to stomach. On some level, she could not help but imagine it wasn't over yet, and because of that, her body still held a level of elevated vigilance. How long that would last, though, she couldn't say. And already she was beginning to feel troublingly safe. Here in a mysterious library where a woman with snakes for hair, an oily black being of pure evil, and a policeman wrapped in bandages had apparently become her new normal.
That's one thing that people find. A lot of research has found we adapt as a species extremely quickly, and once the psychological shock is worn off, and that's different for everybody, we will adjust to the new normal relatively quickly. It's actually uncanny how fast we adapt given different circumstances and the way things happen. I just imagine, like, look at some of those reality shows like Alone, Survivor, things like that. These people are taken from air-conditioned homes, places where they sit down to work, all this other kind of stuff, and put into a place where they have to literally scrounge for food and in some cases hunt for food. And if they don't, they starve, and they go days upon days without eating. And yeah, it is an intense shock, but some people just adapt so quickly and so well. Let's get back into it.
The four of them left, following the Cloaked Lady into the halls.
Alright, just like we practiced.
The voice emanated from a 2-story tall robot frame that towered over the library. The room they occupied was definitely large enough to handle the robot's size, but more than one librarian watching these events came to worry for the books that might become collateral damage. The voice belonged to the teenage girl piloting the suit from the inside. It stood proudly as sensors whirred to life and locked onto the target. The suit held a blue, red and white shield in its left hand, and a small handle projecting an energy blade in the right.
Huh.
On the suit's left shoulder, just behind the shield, an old man was perched. This old man wore blue and purple robes with a hat covered in stars and half moons. He held his wand at the ready and pointed it towards the wall of flesh that was approaching them.
You shall not pass! I've always wanted to say that.
A similar but smaller robot on wheels dashed by the pair at that moment.
I take this seriously, Gramps. The library doesn't call in its late fees for small threats.
You're always cramping my style, quick.
Just don't die, alright? You still owe me for what happened in Universe 45.
Quick, the smaller robot on wheels dashed into the flesh monster in front of them with gusto, holding two smaller blades identical to its larger sibling. It sliced through the flesh with surprising ease. The flesh monster wailed, and then it tried to swing a thick pseudopod at Quick's already retreating form. The large combat suit brought the blade down between the two, and the tentacle was severed almost immediately.
Oh my
The battle
god.
engaged quickly. The flesh monster began to roll towards the large mechanical suit, which despite the massive size of the chamber they all occupied, was having trouble maneuvering without knocking over bookshelves. The flesh monster had no such compunctions, though once it had cleared out an area, the suit found it much easier to take big swings at the creature. The wizard at this point, not able to take too many shots himself, levitated off the suit's shoulder and towards the flesh's source, an open portal in the back of the room. He turned back to the suit and shouted,
June! I'll close the gate. You keep it occupied. Worst comes to worst, fall back until Chad gets here.
Okay, be careful, Grandpa.
Grandpa.
Oh, wow. This makes me wonder about other parallel universes that are connected. Would the flesh invade all of them? What would it find in some of them?
Grandpa answered with a bit of annoyance.
When am I not? Just keep your suit in one piece this time.
With that, Grandfather Wizard began casting a fireball, and several librarians looked nervously at the bookshelves. The four new visitors passed by a few troubling scenes as they travelled through the library. The main atrium seemed to have seen some great battle recently, with bookshelves knocked over and some half burned. The smell of burnt books overwhelmed pretty much everything else. They quickly hurried through and into one of the many side rooms. This small space housed a family of four, huddled in the corner and cowering as SCP-106 passed through. The cloaked lady grabbed him by the arm and guided him through as his attention turned to the small child the family moved behind them.
No.
Huh.
SCP-106 grunted slightly, but kept walking. From here they followed down a stairwell. Kira was finally feeling the adrenaline leave her system, so she was leaning heavily at this point on the Bobby for support. The Bobby did his best to support as much of her weight as possible as they descended the stairs, and finally after several minutes, they arrived at some sort of open room with no walls and a horizon that stretched as far as her eyes could see.
What?
Kira managed to get out as the room burst into light and colour. At the centre of the room, a tree made of light immediately grew out of the ground and far into the sky. Wrapped around the tree was a single massive serpent seemingly supporting the trunk. The cloaked lady bowed and dropped to one knee. At first no one else did, but then the Bobby nervously it seemed bowed as well. Kira eventually followed suit. SCP-106 did not.
Of course.
Your problem has come to my home. Why?
My apologies.
The cloaked lady answered quickly.
We couldn't stop it.
Why have you come to me?
The cloaked lady motioned to Kira.
I believe I have found a touchstone figure for their world.
The serpent
Touchstone
uncoiled
figure?
itself slightly from the tree.
Yes. You may do. Are you the touchstone?
Kira's eyes went wide as the serpent brought its head closer to the group.
I don't know what that is.
Doesn't it suck when you're a figure of destiny? Doesn't it suck? Especially if no one tells you.
Then you may yet be the one. This is the world tree. This is my home. I am of creation. I am of the library.
The gigantic serpent nearly fully uncoiled itself from the tree and began to bob its head above it.
Do you see those branches?
For the first time, Kira looked up past the serpent into the tree. The area it was motioning to was full of blackened, almost rotten-looking branches, not dissimilar to SCP-106's skin.
Your universe acts as a base branch for so many others. Trillions of worlds are at risk if your own collapses. We cannot allow this.
Are you saying that our universe acts as a sort of keystone?
No. It is the base of a single branch. The branch may be pruned at any time, but one of the smaller branches produces a tea I quite like, and I would like to preserve it.
So the godlike figure is wanting to assist with keeping the universe around because of tea. Seems legit, let's go.
Okay.
Kira closed her eyes and shook her head.
So, how can I help?
If you like what you like.
You've already given your world time by blanketing it in ash and dust. But there are others at work. A man with two faces wishes to reset the world. An unkillable monster and a child will aid you greatly in the final battle. A mechanical savior works even now to reverse the corruption of your son.
The Destroyer.
And the terrible old man will save a world he hates. But these will take time. Come together. Aid them. The end is coming. And from that end, a new beginning.
Kira nodded.
Is this place at risk too?
No. The flesh already came and went. It regrets the transgression.
Ha!
A pseudopod reached out and smacked the wizard out of the sky. In that moment, everything seemed to stop. The flesh had been reduced considerably, but more still flowed in through the portal. A handful of librarians had joined the battle as well, wielding wands and rifles, and one holding a mysterious cube in front of him. And then another portal opened, and then another. Out of it poured yet more of the roiling flesh. Then some of the new flesh formed itself into something resembling a bipedal creature that spoke.
Sure! Alright, cousin, time to go back home.
The new flesh monster rolled into the room and put itself between the defenders and the corrupted flesh. The bipedal flesh construct pulled a surfboard out and jumped on it. He then rode a wave made out of his own flesh over the corrupted monster and started fighting with his own pseudopods and massive slams. The giant mechanical suit picked the wizard up off the ground and gently placed it back on her shoulder. Quick, the wheeled robot began to dive in and out of the corrupted monster, slicing more and more bits off. The wizard along with the librarians began to chant slowly. The doorway that allowed the corrupted flesh to enter the room began to shrink. Suddenly, it blinked out of existence. The remaining flesh didn't stop fighting, but it seemed much less coordinated now. And from time to time, the friendly flesh wave would roll over and seemingly consume some of it. Soon the battle was over and everyone sort of collapsed in place from exhaustion, except the new flesh monster.
It's like totally not a problem to call me if you need my help.
The wizard and the small robot just kind of sighed together. The wizard answered.
Sorry, I really thought we had it.
No worries, bros. Nobody died, so no harm, no foul, dude. I'd stick around, but I think I'd just cause more trouble. Don't be a stranger. Oh, and June! I got that manga you wanted.
Thank you so much, Chad. And I will. I'll bring Grandpa and we can both hang out for a day.
Yay!
Yeah! You haven't hung out in like a month. Bring Quick too. It'll be a sick vacation.
And then the monster surfed back through the portal he'd originally entered.
Nice. You gotta have friends.
There is one more that you must save.
The serpent continued.
A girl of immense power, sleeping in the facility run by your former masters. If she is saved, then you will succeed. If she is corrupted, you will not survive the coming wave of flesh.
How will we manage to save her?
Figure it out!
I cannot say. I cannot see all of your possible branches. Only the one you currently inhabit matters to you. And you must decide for yourself, or else the branch falls to the ground. One way or another, the cascade failure of reality will be prevented. The lady will guide you.
All right, understood.
SCP-106 stepped forward.
And what of me? What of my possibilities? Death. Your possibilities end in death. Good. Not the death of others. Not a slaking of the hunger that drives you. A final death. What does that mean? You know.
The old man grumbled.
Yeah.
The serpent turned to the bandaged policeman at Kira's side.
And you? A singular entity with a singular destiny. Save the girl. You've made great strides towards that so far. I believe that devotion deserves a reward.
Whoever did the voice of the snake, yes, I like
it. The blade
it.
that Bobby carried was pulled from its sheath and levitated in the air. A flash of light blinded them all for a second before a grand sword hung in its place. The blade ignited in flames with a feathered pattern.
That has become a tool of great value to fighting flesh. Protect your ward. Save the girl.
The fire dimmed as a new ornate metal sheath covered the blade. The bandaged policeman retrieved his new weapon with a sincere bow and pulled the leather strap over his shoulder. Finally, the serpent turned to the lady in the cloak and smiled.
You're nearly redeemed for your transgressions against the World Tree. Just a bit more to go.
Huh.
Thank you for the chance.
Go. Save your world. Or die in the attempt. I must drink my tea.
Wow.
Deep inside a still functioning but abandoned SCP Foundation site, far beneath Yellowstone National Park, a young woman with stars in her eyes wakes up. The power is on, but she doesn't see anyone around her. The machines are buzzing, but the ones that held chemicals are all empty. She doesn't understand what's happening or why. She hops off the bed and nearly collapses onto the floor on unstable legs. How many years had passed since she last awoke? She is certainly a lot taller than she remembers. She doesn't know how it's happening, but she is able to reach out with her mind and sense her surroundings. There is danger here, but also an adventure. She then goes to wander the halls, leaving a room marked SCP-239 behind her. Check out this video for another great story, and please be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you made it this far.
Now I need to know.
It really helps the channel. Huge thanks to Sumerian for writing this one, and to my guest voices Saber, Scott, Tash and Lumi. All their links are below. Big up the patrons, and special thanks to Ryan Brenner, Zehex, Viger and Andre Bachert.
Okay, so I need information on 239. I need it post-haste. I know a little bit about 239, but I don't know nearly as much as I should going forward for this series. So, yeah, the Vulcan Exploring Series, Mr. Illustrated himself. Let me know what you guys want to see down in the comment section below. And, oh, no, more importantly on Discord. I get a god-awful amount of comments a day. Warpugs. Lot to unpack with this one. First of all, 106 is going to wind up dead. At the end of this, there is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Dr. Bright is still out there in the wilderness heading towards Yellowstone, although he is massively corrupted at this point. The big question for me is, how is this actually going to play out with this new SCP? Now, I believe that 239 is the reality bender. I'm just not sure if I remember how. Like, I remember she's extremely powerful. I know she's a reality bender, but I don't think, much like with the Shy Guy, it was a long time before I saw anything directly correlated to them. Aside from, mentions in other articles and mentions in other forms of media. So I do want to check out something about 239 so I have a basic level of understanding. But my god, Warpugs, this is the reason I really love this series. It keeps on delivering. The sheer fact that the snake only wants to help them because of a literally tea. Literally tea. You gotta do what you gotta do. A man needs his fix. I get it. I completely understand it. It's so simple, but it's so easily understandable. When you're a godlike figure who really doesn't have to care. Like, not at all. One branch is one branch. It can go off and it'll be fine. But he's like, you know what? I want some sip, and this is the only place that offers it. Warpugs, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Hit the like button to help me out with the algorithm. Check for the merch store down below. And for all of you who are members and patrons, check it out. I have finished Calidus. I have finished the Calidus video. That happened last night at about 4 o'clock in the morning. I had some people do some test reviews of it. Everything looks good. It'll be up tonight. I'll be releasing it to the rest of everybody later this week. Until next time, Warpugs. Whew. I've done some long nights on that one.